Welcome to this explainer. Imagine, for just a second, sitting down to play a 5-hour mental marathon that physically burns as many calories as a long tennis match, all while requiring the kind of split-second emotional regulation you'd expect from a fighter pilot. Well, that is the daily reality of elite chess. But here's the catch. As the human brain ages, time inevitably becomes the ultimate opponent. Today, we're decoding some absolutely fascinating new research that explores how one very specific, entirely natural intervention might just halt that cognitive clock.
Okay, let's dive right into this incredible case study because it completely shattered the normal aging curve in the high-stakes world of elite chess. We're looking at a 65-year-old grandmaster who, right in the middle of a grueling, multi-day tournament, suddenly started calculating these massive, complex 15 to 17 move endgame combinations with the pure speed and razor-sharp clarity of a 25-year-old. And the kicker? He wasn't using any aggressive stimulants or synthetic nootropics, so how is that even biologically possible?
To understand how this works, we first have to meet the silent villain that's working against every single one of us, neuroinflammation. In longevity science, they actually call this inflammaging. It's this chronic, low-grade inflammatory response happening right inside our central nervous system, and it naturally speeds up as we get older. Unlike acute inflammation, the kind that quickly fights off a cut or an infection, this is a slow, silent saboteur. Over time, it damages our neural synapses, drastically reduces brain plasticity, and just bogs down our processing speed. For a professional chess player, it literally feels like wading through a constant mental fog.
When you compare these two states of mind, the problem just jumps right out at you. A young, healthy brain, facing intense competitive stress, mobilizes for action, does the job, and then recovers rapidly. But an aging brain? It experiences total neural chaos. Hormones like cortisol and adrenaline build up and just linger there. Because of this, the prefrontal cortex, which is your literal command center for strategic planning and concentration, actually burns itself out under that intense stress. It loses its myelin sheathing, which basically means your electrical signals start misfiring all over the place.
So what's the biological antidote researchers discovered? It's surprisingly natural. We're talking about high-dose, cold-pressed hemp seed oil. And the absolute magic number behind its success is a ratio of 3-to-1. That is the precise, biologically optimal ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids found naturally in this specific oil. Just for some context, your typical Western diet has a ratio closer to 15 or even 20-to-1, which actively drives chronic inflammation. But hitting that perfect 3-to-1 ratio, it acts like a biological shield for the brain, rapidly reconstructing healthy cell membranes.
But wait, the magic actually goes way beyond your standard omegas. This oil is packed with rare, highly specific fatty acids like gamma-linolenic acid, or GLA, and stearidonic acid, SDA. These components are absolute game changers because they can seamlessly cross the blood-brain barrier. Once they're inside the brain, they aren't just sitting there providing energy. They get right to work actively rebuilding the fluid structures of your neuron membranes, acting as direct precursors to powerful anti-inflammatory compounds. They quite literally accelerate the speed at which information travels across your synapses.
And those cellular building blocks? They form the foundation for the brain's natural emergency braking system, the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. Here's how it plays out step by step. Step 1. Immense tournament stress triggers massive cortisol spikes, which threatens to completely derail the player's focus. But then, step 2, those hemp lipids we just talked about step in. They provide the exact biological material the brain needs to synthesize anandamide, which is a neurotransmitter scientists often call the bliss molecule. Finally, step 3, this anandamide acts as a hard brake on the amygdala, your brain's fear center. This is what keeps the grandmaster in a state of cold, calculated calm, entirely preventing panic even when the tournament clock is ticking down. To put this biochemistry to the test, researchers designed the ultimate pressure cooker. They brought in 12 elite grandmasters, all between the ages of 58 and 72, for a brutal, double-blind, 5-day, 10-game chess tournament. Half of this group was given a daily therapeutic dose of this concentrated hemp seed oil for 6 weeks leading up to the event. The other half, they got a flavor-matched placebo. Throughout the entire tournament, these guys were wired up to advanced physiological monitors, tracking everything from their real-time heart rate right down to their sleep quality.
And the crazy part? Even before the tournament officially started, the lab recorded immediate physiological changes just 2 hours after the very first dose. Heart rate variability, or HRV, which is a huge indicator of how resilient your nervous system is, shot up by 15 to 22%.
At the exact same time, cognitive reaction times dropped by up to 12%, and salivary cortisol levels plummeted by up to 18%. Those rare fatty acids were becoming biologically available and stabilizing the players' nervous systems almost immediately. Then came the main event, the 5-day tournament itself. To judge the games, researchers brought in Stockfish, which is a massively powerful chess AI, to analyze the precise depth and accuracy of every single move played. And this data completely exposes the literal breaking point of the human mind under pressure. By day 5, the placebo group was exhausted. Their average accuracy collapsed to 64.5%, and they were making over 2 critical game-losing errors per match just due to pure mental fatigue. But the hemp oil group, they held a staggering 78.2% accuracy and kept their errors strictly under 1 per game. They simply did not burn out.
Which brings us to this massive, frankly astonishing number, 166. That number represents the average ELO rating performance jump for the hemp oil group during this tournament. Now, if you know the competitive chess world, you know a 166-point jump isn't just a statistical blip. It is practically equivalent to leveling up from an international master to a full-fledged grandmaster. And remember, they didn't get this from studying new tactics or hiring new coaches. This boost came entirely from protecting the brain's lipid structures against fatigue and inflammation. But you know, numbers only tell half the story. The real-world impact is probably best summed up by that 65-year-old participant who shattered calculating records for his age group during the trial. He told researchers, "I felt a clarity of mind I haven't had in years. There was no usual fatigue after 5 days. The brain just worked." I mean, that perfectly captures the tangible reality of lowering neuroinflammation. It's absolutely crucial to realize this wasn't some jittery artificial caffeine rush. It was quite literally returning his aging brain to its optimal baseline function.
Now, here's a really crucial detail. The researchers didn't just pull any random commercial oil off a supermarket shelf. There is a very specific geographical secret behind this profound success. They specifically sourced the unique genetics of Ukrainian hemp strains, specifically the Glesia and Zolotonosha varieties. Why Ukraine, you ask? Because the moderate climate there, combined with a uniquely long 150-day growing season, allows these specific plants to develop an incredibly balanced profile of aromatic molecules known as terpenes.
This precise geographical balance creates what scientists call the entourage effect. See, these specific terpenes aren't just there to add flavor or aroma. They act as highly powerful neuromodulators that support the whole lipid profile. You've got pinene, which naturally prevents the breakdown of short-term memory chemicals. You have myrcene, which actually helps those omega fatty acids cross into your cellular membrane so much faster. And caryophyllene, which interacts directly with your brain's CB2 receptors to plummet inflammation without causing any psychoactive high. Together, they are the ultimate transport and support system.
So the vital takeaway here is that not all hemp is created equal, period. If you contrast southern climate hemp strains with these moderate Ukrainian strains, the difference is literally night and day. Southern strains typically have extremely high levels of myrcene, and high myrcene creates a heavy, sedative, sleepy effect, which is exactly the last thing any chess player wants when they're staring at a board. But those Ukrainian strains, they have much higher pinene and lower myrcene. That produces a perfectly balanced profile designed for sharp cognitive clarity and rock-solid memory retention.
All right, as an impartial explainer of this science, we have to talk about the limitations, because this isn't magic. First off, it was a relatively small study, featuring just 12 participants. Second, there are no shortcuts here. You can't just take a spoonful of this oil an hour before a big test and suddenly become a genius. It took 6 straight weeks of daily consistency to properly build up those cellular membranes. And finally, individual genetics play a huge role. Variations in metabolic genes, specifically FADS1 and FADS2, mean that some people are just naturally going to process these fatty acids far more efficiently than others. But think about the broader implications here, because this goes way beyond the chessboard. We're talking about massive potential impacts. Imagine combating general, age-related cognitive decline across our entire aging global population. Or think about protecting high-stress professionals, surgeons in a chaotic operating room, air traffic controllers juggling dozens of planes, military pilots. These are people who simply cannot afford a single moment of mental fatigue, emotional burnout, or cognitive error when human lives are literally on the line.
Which brings us right to our final takeaway for this explainer. As modern science continues to decode the incredible molecular biology of aging, we are learning that our brains don't necessarily need aggressive artificial stimulants just to perform at their peak. Sometimes they really just need the right biological building blocks to stabilize, recover, and heal.
So I'll leave you with this thought to chew on. If we can use natural lipid profiles to protect a chess grandmaster's brain from the fiery chaos of inflammaging, what natural tools will you use to protect your own cognitive longevity? Thank you for exploring the science of the mind with us, and keep questioning exactly how your own brain works.